Hello again, and welcome to Avoiding Pitfalls Lesson 3. And this is all about improving your listening skills. So in this homework, as you go through it, there's a few things that I want you to pay attention to make sure that you get the most out of the lesson. So first of all, a song is built by a number of elements, and you want to pay particular attention to the kick drums, the snares, the claps, hi-hats, and those sorts of things that are going on. And then kind of the secondary and background sounds, which could be loops or single hits, things running through delay, being filtered, being processed by reverb, that sort of thing. These are some of those things that you really want to pay attention to as you go through your song. Now, once you figure out kind of the basic elements, all the drum grooves, the bass, chords, melody, background sounds, what you want to do is try to break it down into 6 to 8 elements that are kind of making up the song. And then break those elements down to different layers that build those elements. Often a song has between 30 and 60 different sounds that make up the whole song. You want to keep that in mind as you're going through and distinguishing these elements. For example, a kick drum, most of the time it uses 2 to 3 sounds to really get that big, full kick sound. So every element, including bass, synth sounds, and whatever, even if the sound only actually uses one sound to accomplish it, it's important for you to kind of break down, in order to deconstruct it, what's going on in the lower end, in the middle frequencies, and what's going on in the high frequencies. And you really want to be as detailed as possible when listening for those subtle things that most people don't hear, because this is really where you have an opportunity to improve your production skills. By being able to hear those things that you didn't notice before, you start to think about how you can use those type of elements in your own song. And the basic rule is if you can't hear it in another song, it's not likely at all that it will show up in your song. So the depth of your listening completely correlates to your ability to produce. Now, it's important for you to know that you don't have to worry about being correct on your assumptions of how something is made. In fact, what's most important is that you figure out your own approach, your own way to approximate ideas that you're hearing. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to copy someone else. What you want to do is be influenced by and kind of model your ideas around what works in other songs. So once again, go through each kind of element and try to figure out what makes up that part. With bass or deep sounds, there's usually going to be a sub-element and then an upper frequency element that has kind of the mids all the way up to the highs. Sometimes there's more elements than that. On the sounds that don't have sub-frequencies, often there's going to be a mid-frequency sound and an upper frequency sound that you're hearing. And sometimes there's like an added little transient sound, a little click sound of some sort that gives it a little bit more impact. So these are things that you should listen for. Not all sounds are going to have them, and once again, not all sounds are going to be layered. But you want to think in terms of layers with everything you listen to. Because if you assume that things have layers, you're going to much better be able to deconstruct how something is made, or the type of sound or collection of samples that you're looking for, to reconstruct that for your own music. So also listen for when a song throughout its arrangement has a boost in energy or a drop in energy. Because every time you hear something like that, there's an element or a collection of elements that is creating that boost or drop in energy. You're either adding parts or taking away parts to create that energy boost or that loss of energy. If the songs that I've chosen don't seem to work for your style, or it's not something that you're particularly into, feel free to pick your own song and just link me to that. And also remember, you're only analyzing one song. So some people go through the work of analyzing every song that I've linked to in the lesson. So just pick one song and go with that. Now, when doing your homework, most of my students like to put timestamps next to their descriptions and kind of go through the song and describe what is going on, what has been added, what has been removed, and that sort of thing, to go through the process. And I encourage that. I think that's a really good approach to take. But I wouldn't want you to make the mistake of focusing only on the arrangement and not about the sounds themselves, because the sound themselves is probably more important at this stage than the arrangement. And you'll certainly learn more about that in the following lessons. So finally, when you build your homework, I don't need a fancy PDF or anything like that. just write your text directly in the email. And that's perfect for me because that way I can immediately get to reading your homework without having to once again download anything or click any links and that sort of thing. So that's the best way. And just a final piece of advice for anyone who has questions about how to convert their WAV or AIF files to MP3, I should have a video showing you how to do that using iTunes, which is a really easy approach to convert those files to MP3. So definitely let me know if you don't see that video. I think it's in an upcoming lesson if you haven't got it already. And with that, enjoy the lesson. I hope you get a ton out of it, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.